Harry Dunn, this goofy Capitol Hill police officer, launched this bizarre video since he's now running for Congress. He wrote a book, went around, hung out with Inside Jen Psaki, selling copies to a bunch of whacked out Democrats, and now he's going to be their representative in Congress. He's going to lead them against insurrection across America because of his historic actions on January 6th. But were they actually historic or were they not? Actually, TPC4USA is an account on X run by Steve Baker. Great account. He is going to walk us through this image of Mr. Dunn, Capitol Hill officer, former, running around the Capitol like a lunatic and dropping off his magazine from out of his rifle. It just falls out. He is a bit troubled, in my opinion, and he's now running for Congress, which might be the perfect place for him. But this is one of the most bizarre campaign videos I think we've ever seen. Apparently, this guy, who apparently was there, suffered PTSD from the consequences of January 6th. Had to get counseling, had to get all sorts of treatment, whatever. Now he is recreating it. He posted this today. On January 6th, I defended our democracy from insurrectionists as a Capitol police officer after President Biden honored me with the Presidential Citizens Medal. Today, I'm running for Congress to stop Trump's MAGA extremists to ensure it never happens again. All right. Well, we're going to listen to this. Stick with me because we're going to go into Steve Baker's analysis on this, and it's excellent. So this is what it looks like when you're a former Capitol Hill police officer who had a little bit of a mental breakdown and needed to be consoled by your fellow Capitol Hill police. This is what it looks like when you decide, I can lead America.
On this day, my role was as a Capitol police officer. I'm Harry Dunn, and that meant putting aside who I am, a father, a Marylander, a Democrat, because I swore an oath to protect our Constitution, to protect our democracy. It's what allowed me to protect some members of Congress who I knew were bigots.
What? Okay, so he suffered PTSD from being there on January 6th, and now he's recreating this. This is all fake, and he's walking around in like a Zelensky outfit or something, while they have a bunch of actors taking the walls apart, which is our whole argument, okay? That a lot of this was fake. It was Antifa. It was undercover cops flashing their badges to other undercover cops, all with MAGA hat and MAGA gear on. There's video footage of it all over the internet of undercover cops in MAGA gear, okay? So yeah, it's fake. It's a bunch of propagandized garbage, and they just recreated the whole thing for somebody apparently who has PTSD, who doesn't want to relive any of this, and he's reliving it. And so I don't know. I don't know if they got the same director that Liz Cheney had. Remember, Liz Cheney hired a director to produce the Capitol Hill garbage in her fake little committee hearing, all TV producer, and they spliced in audio and they, rigged all the footage. Don't know if it was that guy. I don't know if they called the FBI agents who were there on the scene and brought them back. Like, is this Homeland Security over here? Is this the guy that picked up Enrique Tarrio from jail, who was an FBI informant called Kenny Lazario? Was that them? Anyways, here it goes.
Who helped fan the flames that started all of this. I put country above self. The problem is, a lot of them didn't. Some of the same people who stood behind us when we protected them went back on the floor of Congress and stood behind Trump. They voted to acquit him. And worst of all, they denied the violence and trauma that led to the death of some of my fellow officers.
Who died? Are you talking about Brian Sicknick, who died of natural causes, confirmed by the Capitol Hill Police, your former agency? Are you talking about the other Capitol Police officers who unfortunately died by suicide for some reason? You blaming Trump for that? Or do you want to look into those cases? Who are you talking about? Because no officers died that I know of on January 6th. Not a single one. And this is a stupid lie. That is a damned lie that Merrick Garland and many people keep repeating. Brian Sicknick died of natural causes by the Capitol Hill Police's own admission. It's still on their website. You can look it up, Harry.
I couldn't stand by and watch. I had another role to play. I used my voice to speak out, to get into good trouble. And a few weeks ago, I left the force after more than 15 years of service, so that today I can announce I'm running for Congress. We can't ever let this happen again. And you've heard it from Trump himself. He is hell-bent on finishing what he started this day.
Okay, stick with me. Steve Baker's gonna blast this guy.
I'm stepping into a new role today, but I can't do it alone. I believe every one of us has a role to play in this fight. So join me. We've got a democracy to protect.
Gladwell production, Harry Dunn for Congress, running as Democrat. Okay, so the whole thing was fake, just a total propaganda piece. I mean, this guy is like really milking this thing for everything he's got. But what's so interesting is a lot of this is just fake nonsense, okay? We're gonna hear him explain a little bit more about this. But first, let me take you over to Steve Baker. Steve Baker has been doing awesome work on this case. This is Steve Baker at TPC4 USA. He says, everybody is all at Twitter about former Capitol Hill police officer Dunn's announcement. Now, here's a quick primer for you, including links that you can share with anybody that you want. Everything that you need to know is that we're not even close to being done with this dude. We've already shown that his N-word claims, okay, he said, I was being called the N-word all over the place, which made a media darling, that made him a media darling, never happened. We revealed the 180-degree turnabout between the two FBI interviews he gave about his interaction with 4 Oath Keepers, many of whom are rotting in prison right now. We've shown irrefutably from the video and the trial transcript evidence as well that both Dunn and Special Agent Lazarus, who not only contradicted each other in court testimony, in other words, one of them lied, but how about neither of them told the truth? Because under oath, they claimed that what they claimed happened couldn't have happened because they're at the same location at the same time or something and they were not there. They've also shown from the blaze that Dunn has anger issues, which we'll see in the clip. His behaviors at the Capitol on J6 caused higher ranking officers to intervene. More of that to come. Only a week before Christmas, we revealed the identity of the person who wrote and distributed an anonymous, politically partisan letter on Capitol Police letterhead. Okay, who's that? The cooperation of Raskin and members of the press pool. Then we looked at the cover-up of the identity of the author and the suppression of his disciplinary report that followed. That author was none other than Officer Harry Dunn, and the Capitol Police cover-up goes straight to the leadership. Wrote and distributed an anonymous, politically partisan letter on Capitol Police letterhead. Raskin helped him. Now, unfortunately for the now congressional candidate Dunn and those who have engaged in the cover-up of his many hidden indiscretions on and off duty, our series on A Day in the Life of Harry Dunn has only just begun. Now, because of the Blaze, they have access to Capitol CCTV video. We've been able to begin the process of uncovering these truths. The rest comes from the natural domino process that's going to follow. One lie leads to another, and here it goes. Now, why my obsession with Harry Dunn? Simple. His lies, given in FBI interviews, given in congressional testimony, and in court, has led to the conviction and the imprisonment of Americans for crimes that they did not commit. Period. Incredible work on this. But let me share this little excerpt from their work. And they've put this together. It's just outstanding. And I'm not going to jip too much of it because I want you to go over there and watch it. I want to play just a couple segments of this.
Escalating things in his own mind in a way that other officers weren't.
I'm not going to try and play psychologist because I'm not one. There's just something wrong with him. One of those incidences took place at the top of a stairwell.
This is Steve Baker, the guy behind the report.
Down in the crypt. It's a staircase that leads down to the lower terrace where a lot of officers were receiving first aid for their injuries. He was surrounded by some Metropolitan police officers when inexplicably he just lost control.
Vice versa. Keep feet.
There was nobody doing any violence of any type in that room at the time. In fact, there was only a very small handful of protesters in the crypt at that moment. And they were all the way across the room. And he just started screaming and shouting obscenities across the room. And at that moment, Captain Ben Smith of the United States Capitol Police ran over to him, put his hand on his shoulder. Calm down, Harry, calm down. A couple of minutes later, Harry broke out in a run towards the staircase that led up to what they call the small rotunda or the speaker's lobby. And as he's running towards those stairs, he accidentally hit the button on his magazine from his M4 automatic weapon. The magazine bounces off the floor. 3 other officers run over. One of them picks it up and hands it to him. Then Harry runs to the top of the stairs. He's clearly agitated. He's in a high level of distress, not because he's been fighting with anyone. When he reached the top of that stairs, that was the moment when Oath Keeper Ken Harrelson saw this highly distressed officer carrying an automatic rifle arrive to the top of the stairs.
Okay, that's him. Inaudible. Yeah, officers are down. Yeah, they're carrying him out on stretchers. They're effing us up, man. But, right, he's screaming, right? Screaming at these people.
Already something's going wrong in his head. There wasn't a single officer carried off on a stretcher that day.
Didn't happen.
There was another scene that took place in which he describes in the book, not so terribly accurately. He says that he saw a protester who was leaning against the wall. Another police officer had given this protester a bottle of water to wash out his eyes because the protester had been sprayed with pepper spray. The book says that he was screaming obscenities to that protester and yanks the bottle of water out of his hand and then throws it, in his own words, halfway across the rotunda floor. Harry can be seen entering the rotunda. He's not running, but he does inexplicably walk the full length of the floor. He walks over to this lady sitting on a bench. She's wearing red and complete far end of the Capitol, or the rotunda from where he entered. He's screaming at her and she's doing nothing. And immediately an officer has to come over and intervene and actually takes the lady away from Officer Dunn. Then Dunn walks over to the middle of the rotunda floor where a protester is sitting in the middle. He's not leaning against the wall. He's sitting on the floor. He has 4 or 5 other police officers around him. He does have a full bottle of water in his hand, and inexplicably, Dunn reaches down and violently snatches the bottle of water out of his hands, but he doesn't throw it across the floor. He just then ambles across to the other end of the rotunda and walks over and places the bottle on the pedestal of a statue. Then a higher ranking officer can be seen talking to another member of what they call the M4 unit, points at Dunn, and basically you can see from his hand motion says, "Get him out of here."
Get him out of here.
That officer immediately goes over to Dunn and immediately waves him, grabs him, and gets him out of there. Once again, he was not in a position where he was de-escalating, where he was calm and collected, where he was in control of his own faculties. Officer Dunn, as a personal training officer who teaches de-escalation tactics and procedures, was not following the lessons that he himself taught those who he was in charge of training.
There he is. Drop your gun. Amazing. Okay, so we'll leave it there. There's a bunch more of this, okay? A bunch more. So it's so good. Isn't it good? All right, so go check it out. The Blaze is doing an awesome job on this. They've got some really good footage, and it's just outstanding. So Guy is a liar. Guy put stuff in his book that is not true. The guy is, manipulating what happened here. He's running around dropping his magazine out, and he's just totally lost it, right? And he admits this. He admits that he had PTSD and that he's had, a history of this type of stuff. So, and here, they bring him on. Now, this is like the Capitol Hill Avengers, okay? They brought this guy who's also, I think, has some issues. Now, Harry Dunn, tell us about your troubles and everything that you did to save us all during that time when you were walking around snatching water bottles out.
Gentlemen and 3 heroes we've gotten to know well over the last 3 years. And Officer Dunn, I'll start with you and just get your reflections on where we are 3 years on now. This day, 3 years ago, you thought you had, not routine, you had a big rally and a group of people there, but you never could have anticipated what was going to happen, and your life is so different, obviously, since then. What are you feeling as we approach this anniversary?
Good morning, Willie. Morning, guys. Good to see y'all. Good to be here with everybody. Man, I never anticipated that my career would take the turn that it has now, and that I am in this space that I am now. I never
you're friends with Jen
thought that
Psaki
I'd be
now.
on a morning show with the title former Capitol Police Officer attached to it. But it's a little heartbreaking, a little bit. One, for selfish personal reasons, but also for the direction that our country is headed in. I mean, who would have ever thought that, like you said, we thought it was a normal protest that we've dealt with hundreds of times, thousands of times at the Capitol. People expressing their First Amendment right. We never thought, earlier you said, will we debate insurrection? The definition of an insurrection is a violent uprising against the U.S. government or against a government. And that's exactly what happened that day. So it's important for all of us. And I'm glad that my fellow officers, former officers, are here with me and standing up and pushing back against that narrative that a lot of people on the right are trying to rewrite, erase, or completely just whitewash it.
Hey man, the video shows opposite of what you wrote in your book. So who's whitewashing the story? The video or you and your book? I think it's the latter. Also curious about all this, right? Earlier this week, we talked about the new Democrat Spice Girls, okay? It was the 3 former Trump aides who are now all flipped. We had Clavicle Girl, Cassidy Hutchinson. We had Alyssa Griffin, who's on The View, and the other gal. And so, they're concocting these little teams to go out and do this stuff, right? And so this is the Capitol Hill Avengers team, right? Made up of these guys. And they just go around every single day. You know how much work it is to get 3 people scheduled together on the same show? Like, this is a lot of work to put all this together all the time. So they just do one show after another, right? They'll just sit around texting, okay, who are we doing next? What are we doing next? Pure propaganda. And this guy just lies through his teeth. He's going to be great in Congress. So of course that's happening. Now, we also know in this anniversary that the FBI, which I still don't even know why they exist, honestly, they can't protect the Capitol building and they can't find a pipe bomber after 3 years. Like, one of the most, obvious things that they would supposed to do is to find criminals and secure buildings against attacks, stuff like that, right? They can't even figure it out. They can't do anything. So why are they even here? Who knows? Now, $500,000 reward remains in effect for information about the Capitol Hill pipe bomber, which was their plan B, right? It was their backup plan. So if nothing happened, if Reacts couldn't drag everybody into the front door, then they were going to have a pipe bomber who was going to then stop the counting of the electoral ballots and any debate that was taking place that Ted Cruz wanted to initiate, and so on. But it's been 3 years. We got a lot of questions about the FBI. This guy is no Trumper. He's over from CBS. His name is Scott MacFarlane, and he's even asking a question. The suspect who left the pipe bomb still hasn't been caught. 3 years later, the Justice Department isn't even taking questions about the investigation. They don't even want to talk about it. What happened? This is MacFarlane News. He's a CBS correspondent, does not like Trump at all. Let's see what he says.
Today, the Department of Justice, marking the 3-year time span since January 6th, talked about its investigation. It is broad, it is unprecedented, and it has many successes. But there's this matter still. The pipe bomb. The pipe bombs placed 3 years ago tomorrow in neighborhoods outside the Republican National Committee and Democratic National Committee.
Plan B,
3 years later, they have not found the person, even though
that's weird.
They have offered a $500,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's capture. And even though the Department of Justice...
Are they going to pay it to themselves at the FBI? They'll just shout down the hall, "Hey, Lou, they got you. We're going to pay you $500,000 for identifying your friend Bill."
Justice again today said those pipe bombs, quote, could have seriously injured or killed innocent bystanders. And they say, in so many words, the suspect may still be a danger. They are still inviting tips, and 3 years later, they're still not there. In congressional testimony late in 2023,
of course not.
Republican member of Congress, speaking to the former Capitol Police chief, said it is just simply surprising, with all the intelligence, with all the cameras, with all the security and police around Capitol Hill, that they haven't found their person. And today, when speaking to reporters 3 years later, the Department of Justice just didn't entertain questions.
Don't even want to talk about it.
Bombs. And even though they did lengthy public interviews 1 year after January 6th about the search for the pipe bomber, they haven't done them since. They've rejected a request to do them last year and didn't take those questions today, which leaves open the possibility that after an unprecedented success in the largest investigation in U.S. history, the Department of Justice leaves itself vulnerable to criticism. Yeah, buts about this.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Scott. So they lead themselves to a lot of criticism because the whole thing is rigged propaganda. It's not legitimate at all. Of course, they don't want to answer questions. These are the same people that came out and told us that their 6-month sentence for Reacts was very serious, while other people are they want 20 years for them for doing conduct that's a lot less than that. So I got 2 more propaganda pieces. I know this is kind of a propaganda heavy piece, but I just got to share it. These people are lunatics. So here is what Joe Biden said. Now, he posted this. He says, "All of us are being asked right now, what will we do to maintain our democracy?" This language, I know it's Joe Biden. I know he can hardly talk. I mean, even listen to this. Listen to him speak here. He can hardly mumble it out. And this is on recording, and this is probably the best take they got. This is the whole stinking campaign.
I've made the preservation of American democracy the central issue of my presidency. I believe in free and fair elections and the right to vote fairly and have your vote counted. There's something dangerous happening in America. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. All of us are being asked right now, what will we do to maintain our democracy?
What are you going to do?
History's watching. The world is watching. And most important, our children and grandchildren will hold us responsible. The Vice President and I have supported voting rights since day one of this administration.
He is slurring.
And I ask every American to join me in this cause. America is still a place of possibility where the power resides with we the people.
We the people want to vote for our candidates, Joe.
That's our soul. We are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together.
Doesn't it sound like he's slurring his words even in the pre-recorded speech that they edited and probably took 35 takes on? Oh my gosh. All right, so that's what they're doing. Now, it is troubling, right? When a president comes out here and says that essentially half the country is trying to wreck American democracy, it's not policy differences from the same people that are putting people in prison and prosecuting their political opponents. It is a real serious threat, I think, right? He's actually saying that we are not going to allow political opponents to win. He controls the DOJ, he controls the FBI. They have already been exploiting their power to take out their opponents. So why would they stop? It's only going to get worse. So here is another video. Now, this was shared by our friends on Locals during our members only stream in the morning. And this was wild. I had to do a double take on this because this came out from 11 Films. Now, apparently it's a pretty big account on X. It's an award-winning pro-democracy production house. So this is what they're producing for their own side. Okay, this is what they watch, I guess, after they're done with The View. Award-winning pro-democracy production house. Democracy is under attack. Let's fight back together. Now, in this little excerpt, again, this is another painful one to listen to because it's so wild, but they use AI to fake Trump's voice, which they admit in the video at the end. They say this is not a movie, even though this whole thing is fake. And they call Trump and his supporters evil. Evil. So what do you do about that? If you're fighting evil demonic forces and you have the FBI, the DOJ, the control of all the levers of government, what do you do to those people? This is what they're talking about on the left.
I love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no, other than day one."
Let's get it.
As my first order of business, I hereby declare martial law.
All fake.
Citizens of the new America, here are today's announcements. Supreme Leader Donald Trump proclaims the 4th of July will no longer be celebrated as Independence Day. In honor of our 2021 Patriots, January 6th will now be recognized as our great nation's birthday.
January 6th.
Citizens are required to participate in quadrant festivities. Failure to do so will be met with harsh punishment and immediate incarceration in your local detention camp.
They're crazy.
I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk.
Effective immediately, all children are now
Trump's kissing babies.
Considered spiritual soldiers of MAGA. Regardless of rape, incest, or health of the woman, abortion is now illegal.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone caught providing or receiving an abortion will be charged with murder.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
So that's going to be a big one. Abortion. They're going to try to get abortion on the ballot all over the place.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Due to previous liberal indoctrination, all schools are hereby closed. All citizens must participate in their quadrant's
Republicans don't like education?
Festivity.
Trump doesn't want your kids to get educated?
Met with harsh punishment and immediate incarceration in your local detention camp. All migrants, refugees, and dreamers are now considered enemies of the new America and will be rounded up, incarcerated, and deported immediately.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. We will root out the radical left thugs that live like vermin. Vermin.
Your curfew and freedom to travel will be determined by your quadrant.
Oh, you're going to have drones attacking you.
System score. The vermin surveillance system has proven to be invaluable in detecting and squashing liberal uprising. All citizens must continue to report any progressive or liberal activity. Failure to do so will be met with harsh
Okay, this is not a movie, but it is a movie. Everything that they just shared was totally fake.
punishment and immediate incarceration at your local detention
This is our
camp.
last chance.
Your unwavering loyalty to
And we must unite against evil. This is like their little propaganda pornography, okay? This is what they watch and retweet. Like they're retweeting this, liking it, leaving comments. We're all gonna die. It's crazy.
Supreme Leader Donald Trump is mandatory and essential in keeping the new America great forever.
Okay, so now you can see this video was funded by the Resistance. They say the video aims to illustrate potential future America in a hypothetical scenario if Trump's reelected. It draws upon his public statements and various other sources to conduct a speculative vision of what might unfold during his tenure. AI audio was used to demonstrate Donald Trump declaring martial law, right? These people are nuts. So that is what they assembled, and the whole thing was fake. Now look, I think there is some seriousness to this. Like, it's a joke. These people are lunatics. lunatics, but this is what they think. And so if they had the option, okay, just like during the pandemic, they said, if you didn't comply with our terms, you don't get healthcare, you don't get a job, you don't get to travel, you don't get to do anything. Those are the types of dictators, the little types of tyrants who watch this stuff and just enjoy themselves a bit too much. And so if they get the opportunity, if they get the power to make it hurt against the right, they're going to do it. They're throwing Trump off the ballot in order to make it happen. And that's just the beginning. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot more of this type of stuff to come. But these people are nuts. Okay, so warning, this video should scare the heck out of you. A lot of people say, help us raise some funds. Here, Brendan says, this is absolutely crap. Nobody should give you a penny if you think this is good. It wasn't any good. Marxist projection. A lot of people responding to that. Pretty funny. Almost 1 million views there. So it's just laughable. And it's really kind of insane. You know, it's actually like, you kind of feel bad for some of the people that watch this and go, we're all going to die, because they're living in a reality that is so distorted from the actual reality that you almost feel bad for them. But then you remember, not really. So of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends. I share this stuff with you so you can just see how insane it is. We can all indulge in it together. But this is what is coming out about Dunn. Be sure to follow TPC4 USA and our friends over there at The Blaze, digging into this goofy Capitol Hill police officer launching his campaign. More will be revealed, and we'll be looking forward to covering it. So thank you for subscribing, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we continue our journey here, unpacking all the madness happening out in the world. We'll see you right back here on the next one.